Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimalia, Channels Television's head office in Abuja. Let's get on it with everyone. And before we get into the main conversation for today's show, more reactions continue to trail the rearrest of Omoyele Sowore, the convener of Revolution Now protest. Earlier today, a coalition of civil society organizations in Nigeria has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government, demanding the release of Omoyele Sowore, convener of the Revolution Now movement. The group is also demanding the release of all illegally detained persons by the DSS as well as other security agencies.
To show accountability as President and Commander-in-Chief and address the nation on his commitment to the rule of law and human rights. Number 2, the release of all illegally detained persons by the Department of Secret Service. Number 3, that the government obey all pending court orders. Number 4, an investigation of the officers who violated protocol and the circumstances leading to Omoyele Sowore's second arrest. And lastly, the unconditional release of Omoyele Sowore per his bail terms. If these 5 demands are not honored within 14 days, we call on patriots across Nigeria to join us as we occupy the National Human Rights Commission. We demand the following. Number 1, President Muhammad.
But then let's get some more stories on our political roundup.
President Muhammadu Buhari says the federal government remains committed to respecting human rights. The president made the commitment in a speech delivered by the Solicitor General of the Federation at the 2019 Human Rights Summit in Abuja. The president's statement is coming on the heels of accusations of disregard for human rights in recent times. Meanwhile, the resident coordinator of the United Nations Development Programme, Mr. Edward Callan, is asking the National Assembly to protect the rights of women by passing the Gender Equality Bill. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, is calling for a declaration of a state of emergency in the power sector. Senator Lawan faults the power sector privatization process, which according to him hasn't yielded significant improvement. He says the National Assembly is prepared to amend the Power Sector Reform Act of 2005. Senator Lawan made the comments at a roundtable discussion on addressing Nigeria's power problems organized by the Senate.
I think time has come to take major decisions on what we need to do with those agreements. When we pay hundreds of billions for nothing.
The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says over 1,000 convictions have been secured by the commission in 2019. Speaking at an event organized by the EFCC to mark the United Nations Day on Anti-Corruption in Abuja, the acting chairman of the commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, explains that the commission will never give up even if corruption fights back. Meanwhile, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka criticizes the Department of State Services for the rearrest of the convener of Revolution Now protest, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. The federal government has mandated the Office of the Accountant General to issue a daily Treasury statement of government's transactions. The Treasury statement is expected to encompass all inflow and outflow of transactions of all ministries, departments and agencies. Speaking at the launch of the federal government Open Treasury portal in Abuja, the Minister of State for Niger Delta, Mr. Tayo Alasho Adura, explains that the initiative is aimed at ensuring transparency in government as well as curbing corruption.